one of the most iconic bands in rock and roll history. In their final, super duper final, we really mean it this time, farewell tour. The Rolling Stones, their 3,729th farewell tour. Tickets on sale now.
Hi, Daniel. Before I get into how I created some of the sounds, this does kind of require just a tiny story. So bear with me. But when I saw your footage, I immediately thought of the parody that I did. And so the backstory to that is that in 1981, I was 19 years old, and my buddy called me up. He said, listen, I heard on the radio the Stones are retiring and they're not touring anymore. And so we got to see them. So I said, whatever, you just get tickets, we'll go. They were playing at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. And so we went, we saw George Thorogood, Jay Giles, and the Stones. It was a fantastic concert. But here it is now, 40 years later. Literally this October 9th. We saw him October 9th, 1981. This October 9th, it will literally be 4 decades, 40 years since I went to see the Rolling Stones farewell tour. So that's what kind of gave me the idea for the parody. And without further ado, here is how I created the sounds. Thanks. So the very first thing you're seeing here is me record. I have this pen with a really loud click. It doesn't necessarily record that loud, but like in person, it's super loud. And so I recorded that, and I tried to use that, and I didn't like it. So my wife suggested that the next thing you're about to see is me recording. Our dryer has a knob that has a very kind of a louder metallic click. So I recorded that, and even that by itself wasn't exactly what I wanted. So what I did is I took my pen click and the dryer knob click. I imported that into Audacity and overlaid them on top of each other. I brought the volume on the pen click way up. I decreased the volume on the dryer knob because it's a lot louder. And then I added the tiniest bit of reverb, and that's the sound you got for when you turn on your amp. So the next thing I recorded was I took a socket and a little extension, and I was trying to get the sound of your amp plug being plugged in. It wasn't perfect, but I liked it, and it was the closest I could actually find without actually, plugging a guitar cord into an amp. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could even do that and say I was, creating something. So, but I thought it worked fairly well, and that was the next thing I recorded. The next thing I recorded actually was something my wife kind of helped me out with a bit, and that was I took this plastic package of some sort of aromatherapy squares, whatever it was, and I was dragging it. You're going to see that footage right now. I was dragging it across another piece of thicker plastic, and I tried to get just for that sound of you dragging the guitar pick off the table. I did add something. I don't know if you can hear it, but I added a little flick. It's very hard to pick something as flat as a guitar pick off a flat surface. So I did record, hang on one second, I'm going to turn the phone around. I did record a little bit of a slap off a wooden table with a guitar pick, and that was sort of to simulate as if you were dragging something across the table, and as you picked it up, the edge of the guitar pick would just kind of flick the end of the table. So even though you don't have that actual footage, I included it just as a way to sort of simulate, I guess, the pick being dragged off the edge of the table. Finally and lastly, I have this is my friend Lance, and on guitar, and he's hitting that power B chord. I don't really have a guitar. I have one, but it doesn't have any strings, so it doesn't really count as guitar. But he helped me out with. I asked him to bring his electric so that I could get kind of a fuzz, a little more of a rock and roll sound, and he had forgotten it. But he did have his acoustic electric, which actually let me do a little bit of creative something. I actually, he just hit that chord, and I took that recording into Audacity, and under the effects tab, there's something called distortion. And in the sub menu of that, there's something called a leveler. And so the leveler, whatever that is, only went from 1 to 5. So I cranked that all the way up to 5. Distortion went from 0 to 100, and I put it at about 75. And then I added just the tiniest bit of reverb to that. And that is how I altered the sound from his acoustic to electric to try to get a little more of an electric guitar sound. So that's it, Daniel. This is my submission. And, I was really kind of happy the way everything turned out. And I know you have, probably a bunch of really talented guys entering the contest. So if I don't win, I can't say I didn't try my best. So thank you for the experience. It was really fun. I've been a big supporter for a long time. So looking forward to hopefully maybe winning that gear. The only other thing I would like to sort of tag on right to the end is obviously with 3,729 farewell tours. By the time they got there, I'm sure they would be 500 years old. So there was a little bit of hyperbole in the joke at the end. Hopefully it came across. If it didn't, it's just my wacky sense of humor. Thanks again, Daniel. I appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing how everything turns out.